This is a Toyota Highlander with a V6 3.0 liter engine, 1MZ FE. The reason this vehicle is up in the air is because the CV boot, the inner CV boot on the driver's side axle is torn. So we're going to show you how to do this repair. In many cases, your mechanic might suggest replacing the axle. But in this case, replacing this boot is a relatively easy job, and it can save you a lot of money. So we're going to show you exactly how to go about doing that. To do this job, we want to remove the axle from the car. So the first step is we've unfastened the brake line and the ABS line from their retainer bolt. We've undone the crash bolts that hold the strut to the knuckle. We've unfastened the outer tie rod, and the first issue we've run into, which is not at all unusual, is that this axle is stuck in the hub, and hammering on it does not even make it budge. So luckily we have this puller, and let's see if it works to get the axle out of the hub. So using this powerful impact on the puller, the axle came out, and now it's free to be removed. But there's one more step, is the axle carrier bearing bracket that we have to address next. Now let's have a look at this bearing and its carrier bracket. This is the axle, this is the bearing, this is the bracket right here. There's a rubber tip bolt that goes through the carrier and presses against the bearing to keep it from turning. And there's it keeps the outer race from turning. And there's a spring clip that locks the bearing into the carrier, keeps it from popping out. So we're going to undo this bolt, remove this spring clip. We've already pre-soaked this bearing up here, this surface, with penetrating oil, and we're going to hope that just this pops right out of the bracket. Okay, so all went according to plan. The clip came out without putting up too much resistance. The retainer bolt came right out, and the bearing went right out without any problem. Here is the axle set on the workbench. The axle is set securely in this vise, and it's supported with these two blocks of wood. This is the clip, we're just leaving it on. This is the end that goes in the transmission. This is the bearing, and this is the outer end. So inner end, outer end, and the boot that's torn is right here. This is the reason we're doing this entire repair. So we want to separate this outer shaft or half shaft from the inner stub. They're joined right here, and they're bolted together. So to remove these bolts, I need this hex key. It's 8 millimeters. It's an 8 millimeter key, and I put this key on the end of this impact wrench, and these bolts all just zip right out. I've already zipped them out, but just to show you the process, this is how they come out. Okay, so that's how we separate this outer shaft from the stub. Before we go too far with this, we want to undo these clamps that hold the rubber boot onto the shaft and onto the CV joint, and these have clips that we can just undo these clips using a small screwdriver to lift up the flaps. Just like you see this one has come off. Okay, so they're both coming off. And then we do the same thing with this one. Once the clamp is pulled back, you just wedge a screwdriver underneath it, stretch it off, and it comes right off the rubber boot. So now all of the bolts are out, and they have these horseshoe washers that we want to reuse, so we keep them with the bolts. And we're ready to separate the half shaft from the stub. This part can be really messy. This is why I have the gloves on. So just see how it goes, and we do this very carefully. And now you can see the inside of this joint. Okay, so this is the end of the shaft. It has a little circle clip around the end that keeps it from coming out. We need to undo that. This is the outer race, this is the inner race, this is the cage, and you can't see them, but there are 6 ball bearings that are all covered in grease inside here. So I have set the axle, the half shaft, in the vise, and I've cleaned off a little bit of the grease, and right here you can see the spring clip that holds the end of this shaft in this inner race. How I separate this clip: I have this spring clip tool. I set it on either side of the clip so that I can spread it like this, and then once I spread it, I just need to get this screwdriver in between the clip, and off it comes. Okay, well, we missed it there. Let's try that one more time. Okay, so there it is. That's how you get this clip off. And with a little bit of further struggle, the clip comes out from the groove entirely. And now this shaft, this race, can slide right off this shaft. So this race is solidly stuck on this shaft, and we're having to use a puller to get it off. 2-jaw puller. Just turn it, and should start coming right off. So the race came out the rest of the way with the puller, and I don't know why it was so hard to pull off. This is not supposed to be an interference fit. One thing I want to point out to you is that the 2 sides, the top side and bottom side of this race, are different. On this side there's a recess. Okay, you can see how there's a recess inside the race. Okay, so this recess is on this side only. It's not on this side. And this side with the recess is always the side that points down towards the outside. It points towards the outside joint. Now we're at the part where we replace the boot, which is what we've been wanting to do all along. This is a aftermarket boot. It's not an original Toyota boot. Got it from Rock Auto. It's just a few bucks. It's a Beck Armley brand, which I've had very good luck with. Here's the boot, and it comes with a big clip. It comes with a new spring clip. It comes with a little packet of grease. And this must be the short clip. And some instructions which I don't think we're going to need. But what we're going to do is we're going to take this boot. We're going to verify that it fits on the CV joint and on the axle. And then we're just going to slip it on right here. Here's the joint. Here's the boot. It is a good fit. So now I'm going to take this small clip. I'm going to slip it over the axle. I've put a tiny little bit of grease around this, make it easier to slide on. And I'm going to see if I can make it slide right on to this axle. Of course, it doesn't want to go, wants to put up a fight. But there we go. As we get it going, just has to go off, go over the little bumps, and there. Here's the part that some of you may have been waiting for, and it is how to reassemble the CV joint. See, it is reassembled now, and I want to show you how it fits together. When it goes together, and you have the big end of this inner race lines up with the small end on the outer race, and vice versa. Big end, small end, small end, big end. Okay, that's the correct way to assemble it. That's how it needs to end up. And I'm going to show you how it's done. So here we go. I'm going to show you how to reassemble the CV joint. The things to note: I've put a little dab of grease on every ball so that they stay, they don't just fall out of the cage. This inner race, the recess of the race points upward. Okay, so to start this, we take the small end right here and we line it up with one of the small ends. So all the small ends are lined up. And we lower this down onto the balls, and just get our fingers around all the balls, and then gently we lift them up, and they go right in. Now they're in. Next, we're going to pack this joint with the grease that came in this packet. So the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to cut the packet open in one corner. Okay, now I'm just going to lift the joint up, and I'm going to squeeze a big dollop of grease in here. Then I'm going to work it in with my fingers. So at this point, we've good to go. We got more than enough grease there. You don't need to use the full contents of the package to get sufficient grease. Okay, this is got more than sufficient grease. Now I have just laid the outer race with its housing on top of the vise. I'm not squeezing the housing in the vise. If you squeeze the housing in the vise, it will bend. And I am thoroughly cleaning this top mating surface. This is the mating surface that will mate with the stub. Okay, and the kit that we got did not provide us with a cork seal or paper seal for this surface, so we're gonna apply a FIPG seal onto the stub. Here's the stub, and the paper gasket is supposed to go right here along the inner edge. So I've cleaned this area very thoroughly, and I'm going to apply Permatex FIPG all around this area here, and hopefully they'll form a good enough seal. So here you can see I've applied this Permatex all along the inside, and it should be good enough to form a seal. So let's go ahead and put it onto the CV joint. Okay, so I'll put them on their little horseshoe. I'll insert them through here. Alright, and now what I need to do is just take this, take our stub, and it's pretty well lined up. Let's start screwing them in. I got one of them started, and let me get the other one started. I've set the axle back on the table, and I've put the clamps onto the new boot that hold it in place, and I'm gonna let this set. Literally, I'm letting the gasket that's on the inside flange right here set, and when I'll wait a couple of hours, then I'll remove these bolts, clean one by one. I'll clean the holes and put some blue Loctite on them and torque them to the specified torque, which is 55 foot-pounds. And then this axle will be ready to go back in the car. So thanks for watching. I hope this helps you, and we'll see you in the next video.